you done got banked, and I always say it on the show, I don't count motherfuckers' pockets, but you made a lot of money.
I'm all right, man.
But what happened? Like, do you look back and be like, how in the do I have to reallocate my money if you're not broke?
Nah, it's just about, you know, things get overhead, you know. Anybody can sue you, take you for whatever you got. You know, at this point, I don't work. I don't make millions of dollars where it's coming in where I could just force someone that money. So, you know, Chapter 11 is about restructuring the money you're making so you can take care of the debtors,
But you still got that goddamn ring on your finger and that Balenciaga and them big-ass boots.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, but AB, like for...
He's all right.
AB, what's the feeling or how much fear in it? Like, I know for me, it was once I was able to make a certain amount of money, once I was able to be successful, I never wanted to go back to having to fight and scrape and struggle, right? I wanted to...
The biggest expenses for athletes, the biggest reason why they go broke, divorce.
If y'all didn't know, there was a video where AD pulled up in a Honda Civic. So that's why he looked well off, you know what I'm saying? Because he really do be managing his money.
Kids.
Wow.
So divorce takes half, but also child support. There was a recent story, Adam Carolla. The guy had to pay $4 million from divorce, $50,000 a month in spousal support, plus an additional $18,000 in child support. That's serious money. So think about the athletes. One of the challenges of being in that lifestyle is you're not living in a rough area. You have to live in a gated community because you're a high-profile person. You can't do the things we do. You can't drive a Honda Accord. The people you hang out with, the people you associate with, you kind of need to spend a certain amount. And so then you're spending a lifestyle that is from $1 million a year income. Well, that's great when you're a business owner and you can make $1 million a year for the rest of your life. These guys only play for 4, 5, 6 years. And so before you know it, after $30 million in earnings, they may only have $2 million in cash.
Stood up in front of everybody and admitted, I don't even have money for a cheeseburger. See, Iverson owed jewelers over $900,000, and his $4 million mansion went into foreclosure. So he had no choice but to file for bankruptcy. But Iverson's lucky, man. Reebok saw this coming decades ago. They saw how fast he'd become a worldwide phenomenon, but also how fast he blew his money. So when they offered him his own shoe deal, they slipped a hidden agreement in his contract. It sounds sketchy, but it was only to save Iverson from himself. The deal allowed Reebok to pay out the money $800,000 per year rather than all at once. And $32 million will be released to him when he's 53.
Talking about retirement and stuff, we sat down like, we need to figure out what you're going to do after track and field because you can't just sit at home and do nothing. No matter how much amount of money you have made through your career, you need to have something to do. You understand? And real estate is always the safest thing to go into first, and that's where it all began. It's always not to rush decisions. It might seem like a great idea, but do your research and to make the right decisions. I think that's very important, you know what I mean? Try to get good people around you to really support and to push your dream, you know what I mean? Networking again, which is very good. And just to commit. I always tell people, commit to anything you're doing. Don't just half-ass it because you're nervous. Really commit to what you want and always do what you love. If you don't love it, most likely it's never going to succeed. The moment you start getting money, you start spending right away because especially if you never grew up in money, you just start spending it. You know what I mean? They say, all right, listen, you want to spend money? This is the plan. You always have to save more than half of your money at all times. You know what I mean? So we save 60% of our money, 20% goes to bills, other business, and then they give me 20%. So they say, listen, this is it. When it's done, it's done.
What up, Delonte?
In reality, 10% of the money of your total income you got should only be spent. Everything else got to go 60% towards your investments, 40% to your bills, 10% for spending, so you can do whatever you want with it.
Hey, so you tried out for the big three.
Yeah.
What happened?
You know, it was so much talent, so many players. I mean, I don't think they could have went wrong with any picks they picked in the draft. I was saying they had the opportunity to try out. I made it to the last combine. But like I said, there were so many options, so many great players. I'm glad to be been a part of it for the first season. Now, one thing, I'll be there next season. I'll be there rooting the guys on, and I'll be there a little more prepared for next season.
You done with basketball? Or you gonna try to go back?
No, I've been always involved. The game I love. Over the last year, I was a scout for the Dallas Mavericks. In the previous 3 years, I was an NBA scout for the Boston Celtics. So I actually was looking forward to being a head coach or assistant coach in the NBA this season. But like I said, it's a business that have a lot of people involved and want to stay involved. So prayerfully, luckily, I'll be up for discussion this upcoming season.
All right. And one last thing. There was a video that just went viral of you panhandling.
Man, they should, him, Jason Kidd, and Mark Cuban, they should all be running the Dallas Mavericks. That right there, man, that's a dream come true for all y'all Mavericks fans.
On the streets.
Yeah.
And you got so many people out there in the world right now that just love and care about you. You okay?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I got children. I'm in between jobs. It's not, people only can help me as much as they can, but as a man, I gotta do for my babies.
All right, Delonte. We wish you the best.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, man.
Life after football is the hardest shit. Like, I seen a meme today. It was just some kids in high school, and he said, like, nobody talks about, like, life after this. And it was him playing football and shit, and then now he's at a construction job. Even for a kid that, like high school, like, yes, you fall in love playing a sport from, the age of 5, 6 years old. You go all the way to 18. You get 12 years of that shit. For some people, it just cuts off then. Us lucky ones, we get, another 6, 8, maybe 10 years, right? But then when that shit cuts off and the lights fade and, nobody's calling your phone and nobody's checking for you, yeah, you get into man, it's so dark in that hole sometimes you don't understand, like, why or how you got there.
I had a conversation earlier today. I'm not even sure this number is correct, but it said like 78% of NFL players eventually, this was like 20 years ago, eventually go broke or file
within 4 or 5 years after they retire.
So our OGs are not doing us a favor. The financial institutions aren't doing anything about it. How can that be the same statistic 20 years ago and we're not getting better? So one, we've got to do a better job of educating each other. Two, me and my new role at UBS, the financial institutions have to step up and start doing a better job of how we deal with each other. But more importantly, we've got to start looking at who our true role models are. You are not a role model because you got money. You're not a role model because you got money. You're not a role model because you got money. Role models need to be people who are educated in finance when it comes to our money.
You think of a pro athlete and they're like, oh, he makes.
And one guy I could think of is Kobe Bryant. That guy had investments. I think he had like a gym called I don't know, some Black Mamba brand he had going. He had Under Armour investments. I don't know. He had some investments. That's all I can say. That he was really thinking about the long run. He was the type of guy that you could see as a mentor.
$40 million a year, and he only plays 82 games a year for 2.5 hours. That is not accurate. That is not accurate. If you began to break that down and all the travel and the practice and all the training and the rehab, when you begin to look at all of the hours that have to actually be dedicated, then when you think about being a pro athlete, you're taking 25% off the top with managers and agents and lawyers, and then you get that dollar and cut that thing in half. Your post-tax dollar is so much smaller than your salary or your contract dollar that the world thinks you make, and that you get that because the reporters will say, oh, he's getting $100,000 a game, whatever it is. But the truth is, after you get rid of all of the fees and then you look at all the actual time, that $100,000, a game is like $5,000 a game. You know what I mean? Or $5,000 an hour, because it's like you're only playing the game for 2.5 hours. It is so much more to that than I think people, give credit for.
80% of NFL players go bankrupt or report extreme financial distress within 2 years of retirement. 60% of NBA players are broke within 5 years of retirement. Athletes and entertainers get wealth and it runs through their fingers like water. That is the entire reason why I decided when I was 17 years old that I wanted to work in finance. I wanted to work specifically in wealth management for athletes and entertainers. However, when I got to college, I decided that I wanted to work in investment banking. In those past 2 years, I became a high income earner at the age of 22. I was making 6 figures at my job before I quit this past May. I saved so much of my income that I was able to quit in May and not look back. I haven't applied to any other finance or corporate job since, and I don't plan on doing that. I did the career, I made the money, and I am now pursuing my end goal, which is to educate young people and young people of color on how to attain and preserve their wealth.
There's a young man from my neighborhood who made it to the NFL. I'm so proud of him. And they had a bye week. He comes home and he sees me outside cutting the grass. He's Mr. Swole, OG. And I said, man, that's a nice car you got. He said, yeah, man. He said, it's a such and such. I forgot the name of it. Very expensive sports car. So he's telling me about the car and how much it costs. And I asked him, I said, can I ask you a personal question? I said, how much insurance policies do you have on yourself? He's like, huh? I said, how much insurance, life insurance, you have on yourself? He said, none. I said,
yeah, he got a lot of wealth that he needs to mitigate because he's risking it all. If he passes away, what kind of protection does he have towards his assets?
Have you ever heard of the Rockefeller waterfall theory? I said, no, what is it? I sat there and I explained to him about generational
waterfall
wealth.
theory.
How people, very wealthy people, get rich off the insurance policies, life insurance policies, tax exemption. The Rockefellers made 65% of their fortune on life insurance policies. So I'm sitting there explaining to them, and I asked him, I said, this is your signing bonus this year. What'd you spend it on? He said, I got a brand new car. I brought my mom a brand new car.
Depreciating assets.
I brought my daddy a brand new car. I bought my brother and my 2 sisters a brand new car. I brought my mom a brand new house. And he said, I brought my daddy a brand new house.
Everybody get a whole new house and car. That's crazy.
I paid for my sister's college tuition for the next 4 years. And I said, well, let's get a pen and paper. I said, son, you've already spent 70% of your signing bonus. 70%. And he was like, wow. I said, you gotta start thinking. You gotta start thinking. Think about the future. And people, I'm not discouraging him not to take care of his family. But when he seen how much money he spent, and I said, he said, well, how can I get life insurance? I said, come and take a ride. Or ride in this fancy car. So I took him to a friend of mine who owns an insurance company. And he's also a multi-millionaire. And we pulled to his house. I said, Mike, introduce him. I said, he wants to understand and learn about insurance, life insurance, and he wants the best policy. Mike said, come on in. Free, no charge. Set him down. This is what you're going to get. This is how much it costs, blah, blah, blah. And he said, we're also going to put insurance on your body. He said, just in case you ever get injured, you have money that's going to take care of you for the rest of your life. And he's like, wow, really? I said, yeah. So we sat there, did the paperwork, did the payments and everything. You're going to be paying such and such every month, for this. So we driving back home, he's quiet. He said, my agent never told me this. He said, my agent has never informed me about this. And
in the real world scenario, when it comes down to business, it's like you better start learning on your own because ain't no one gonna instruct you. This ain't back to school. In real life, You got to get your P's and Q's. You got to learn about establishing credit, which school didn't teach us. You got to learn about how to build up, you could create your own LLC. School didn't teach us that. You got to go to college to even learn such things like that. I learned through YouTube. YouTube itself, I searched everything up. I learned. I asked questions through people who already have the results, and they're better off even without school. They've been well off, and you know what I'm saying? Not bashing school, but all the information is really free if you go out and search for it.
And I asked him, I said, is your agent paying your car notes for you and your parents? He said, yeah. I said, your condo that you have, is your agent paying for it? He said, yeah. I said, all your bills, is your agent paying for it? He said, yeah. I said, boy, you're making the worst mistake in the world. That's how 99.9% of NFL football players, professional athletes, go broke.
Wow.
Because they allow their agents to take care of their bills. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, those agents are taking more than what they need to take. I said, you need to learn how to take care of yourself, pay your own bills.
And that gets me thinking too, like, I gotta now learn to report my own taxes, right? Pay my taxes and report them myself. Instead of going to a tax accountant and paying an extra $300, however much they charge, because we don't know how to do read a balance sheet. We don't know how to deduct business expenses. What is a business expense? We don't know these things, bro. And yeah, I'm at a point where just giving money to a tax accountant isn't making the most logical sense. I mean, if you're not a millionaire, right? If you're making average of six-figure earnings or, you know, below, I think it's time for you to, like, speaking to myself, to learn how to report my own taxes. Am I right or am I right? Which I think, because that's what this situation is. The agent is taking care of his finances.
And take and pay everything. Stop it. I say every time the agent does a transaction for you, he's charging you money. And we just sat there, and when he dropped me off, he said, Mr. Swole, I'm going to say thank you. He said, you taught me so much in the last 2 hours that I never know. See, people, a lot of these kids that go into NFL and the NBA, they become instant millionaires, but they have no idea about finance or generational wealth or anything like that. They become instant millionaires, and they don't know how to take care of that money. A lot of them don't even know how to open up a bank account, or how to pay their insurance and stuff like that. And it's sad. We have to start teaching these young kids about generational wealth, about spending. Life insurance is the key to generational wealth.
That's the sign right there that if you didn't get anything out of this video, you need to start looking into life insurance, building generational wealth, and understand that save more money than what you make. That's it. That's as simple as that. You don't gotta stay broke. Just save up your money. One day it's gonna save you guys. Alright? Make sure you like up the video if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. And we're gonna see you on the next one.